Welcome to Two Girls Talk Transits with our hosts.
Hi, I'm Maddie delrae. I'm a professional practicing astrologer with a focus more on Hellenistic traditional astrology and with an intense love and desire for predictive transiting astrology.
And I'm Kaleigh Smith. I'm a healing coach and art therapy grad student with a slight obsession with reading the stars. I combine astrology, spirituality, and traditional psychology to help people live with intention. Without further ado, we welcome you to Two Girls Talk Transits, where we talk about all the upcoming astrological transits and what you can do to keep yourself sane and absolutely aligned.
Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Two Girls Talk Transit. So, we are going to be moving on to the second trigon. This is the trigon of work, which reviews the second, the sixth, and the 10th houses in your chart. So the second house is how you make money. It's all about money. It's how you support yourself. It comes right after the first house. So it's essentially everything that supports you, the first house of you. So it's all your resources, not just money, but money is a big resource in our current society, but all your resources as well as how you feel like esteemed or often confidence can be here, like how confident or how resourceful you feel moving through your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I've heard it said before, and I think this might kind of be reflective of the second house being seen as Taurus. But it's kind of like your first house is like you come out into the world, and then what's the first thing you do as soon as you come out into the world? And that is like gaining stability and shelter and, figuring out how are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to protect yourself and your family even? And this is like very second house, yeah, themes. Like, how do you come in to bring in those survival techniques, like to survive in this world. And as Maddie mentioned, money is a big part of that. Surviving in the world we live in, we need money, we need these resources. So, yeah, looking and analyzing our second house can provide a really good example of how we innately make money. Like, how do we bring in those resources? How do we move in this area of life? What do we have to learn? What do we have to work on? Yeah, so that's our second house.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about, the ways that you get money and how do you get money and the way that money comes to you and how comfortable you are with attaining a lot of resources, or if you're more of a minimalist and like, well, how do you keep that? It's all about the stuff,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, like second house can also point into what kind of stuff do you like around you? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you like in your immediate environment? Like, this is just a fun example, but for me, my second house is in Gemini. And Gemini is really focused on learning and expanding knowledge and details and things like this. And I love anytime I buy things, like I can buy 8 million books probably, and I'll never have enough. Like I always, always, always am buying a book. Um, so yeah, that just kind of like speaks to how do you even spend your money? Like, what do you like to acquire? What do you like to keep around you? That's very second house theme.
Yeah, yeah. Both of our second houses are ruled by Mercury. Mine is in Virgo though, but
Mm.
two, so yeah, I love lots of stuff and like arts, and I love plants too. I keep mine outside because I can't keep them alive inside my house yet, but we're getting there. But also too, like it speaks to the way that it's most easily attainable for you to have money. And so I think for both of us ruled by Mercury, and it's both mutable signs. Like those are, we usually have a lot of different income flows. Like I have at least 3 or 4 jobs. You have at least very different ways to
Mhm.
make money into your life. And so it's always having a variety too of not just what you spend your money on, but also how you make money is from different streams, can be, especially with like a Mercury ruled second house.
Yeah, so you can look at the ruler and kind of get some more information about Um, yeah, like Maddie said, how are you bringing money in? So for us, like you mentioned, is having multiple streams of income. But let's say that maybe you were Saturn ruled. If we're like tuning into Hellenistic, let's say you have Aquarius there, or you have Capricorn. So that person might have, what would you say? I wouldn't say necessarily multiple streams of income. I would say independence or entrepreneurship or some kind of
Some sort of
so
management of money, or
yeah.
even
Mhm.
making money from money itself. Like that's a very Saturnian thing of like investment income.
I could
But
see that.
yeah, like because I'm just thinking of something I know with the second house, Saturn in it as well, but in Aquarius, all the money comes from investments and things of that nature. And so maybe getting more money from that or something that's very stable. Investments, stock market can be a very structural, Saturnian, societal, stable thing. Or
Mhm.
like real estate, that could be Saturnian.
I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. Could see Aquarius too, like some kind of technology, like tapping into some kind of technology endeavor, like making money online or something like that.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, what other rulers might we have there? Let's say that you're ruled by Jupiter. You might make money through some type of foreign endeavors. You could also be a teacher, some kind of teacher, teaching position. Um, Something that is very expansive
Yes.
and is sharing knowledge with people. What do you think?
Yeah, Jupiter definitely sharing knowledge. I know a lot of people who are very kind of flamboyant in the way that they share their information. So being kind of putting out there and expansive with their sense of self brings them money as well, or any kind of like more artistic or just kind of artistic can be more Venetian, but it can also be Jupiterian when you're looking at the bigger picture of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, just trying, and also like religion leaders or things of that
Mhm.
nature, tithes, donations. Like Jupiter can be very generous. So maybe it's like a nonprofit where you just get donations given to you.
That's also true. And also like writers,
Yes.
publishing, that can all be very Jupiterian too. Yeah,
Yeah.
you might reach a really wide audience. That could also be
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter in the second house thing. Um, Another one we might have is Venus, if Venus is ruled by your second house. That
Mm-hmm.
can be through like the beauty industry or yeah, like beautifying people's homes or making food, I feel like could be a Venetian thing in the second house.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, what else do you think? Using your voice, I think.
Mm-hmm. Modeling, art,
Modeling, yeah.
perfumes, social selling, MLMs, baby.
Mm-mm.
It's very Venetian, right? All about the relationships and looking a certain way online. So maybe a lot of online selling because that takes a lot of an aesthetic approach with
Mm-hmm.
your work. All of those things, Venus too in the second house, especially Jupiter. Sometimes the benefics in the second house like to spend a lot of money as well,
Yeah.
because they like to have that money manifest into things that support their kind of expansive or their beauty as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be a cool placement, but it might be one of those placements where it's like, um, your life looks really beautiful, but is it really?
Mm,
Not to be
yeah.
like like shading you guys with Venus in a second. But yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it could be a cool placement. I would be excited to have Venus in the second, but What else
Yeah.
might we have there? The moon, Cancer.
Moon. The moon, I would say a lot of your money comes from the intuitive side. So maybe you don't actually make money from like practical, reliable, consistent, traditional methods, but following your feelings and doing things that bring you intuitive connection to people or feel like teaching. I often see too sometimes because it's like a nurturing, especially like younger teaching or like younger grade schools, primary education
That would be a good
kids,
one, yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
kids, nourishment from that nannying, any of that, or even like taking care of pets, something that's a nurturing service would be a very moon second house.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see nurses having a moon second house also, or like working with babies, like you said,
Yeah.
like, yeah, little kids, something like that. And then,
Doula.
oh, a doula
Oh,
could be a really good one. Yeah.
yeah.
These would be like all of our, what would it be? So Gemini risings, right?
Yes, Gemini risings for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah. And then we have sun, the sun we're,
Sun.
hmm
You get your money by being yourself. By being probably speakers, speaking engagements, people who are on a stage,
hmm
performers, anyone
actors.
who's very, yeah, like very, you are the source of your money, right? Like, so it's all about people paying you to show up and be something or show up in a way, perform or even just like creativity, like being more creative with different forms of money with the sun there.
So interesting. I feel like it's so interesting to hear about these like different like things that can rule the second house because as much as you can learn about like your own rulership, you can also learn a lot about yourself by understanding what you're not.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's like this is like I'm not somebody maybe who's supposed to be like a performer and supposed to show myself like it's I'm not supposed to be like the main focus of the money making right here. Like you can learn a lot through like like for example, if it were us like a Mercury ruled, like maybe it's more so about what we say that makes money or what we produce through writing or like something
Mhm.
like this more so
The
than like our physical.
information. The
Yeah.
information we share is the money generation versus just the presence as the sun would be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so true. That's
Yeah.
interesting, so cool. That's why maybe you can see sometimes that, like, people who are speakers or, like, performers, and then they say crazy things, you're like, "How is this person famous?"
Yeah, they know how to step into that role for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah. Cool.
um
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so that's the second, and so that's it's just more about the money, but it helps you kind of say if you really need money, you'd be looking at that house. And then it flows to the sixth house, and this is the day-to-day life, your day-to-day daily schedule that you do for work. So your
Mhm.
responsibilities that you do each day. How do you go to work? Do you go to work in the office? Do you work at a store? Do you work at home? What does that look like? As well as things like coworkers and the people that you work with and talk to in your relationships with them. The six is like additional because the six does contain things like body health, but I think it's related to work because it's like, especially if work traditionally was more physical before we had all the computers, like those two were linked. How is your physical health generating your day-to-day work life, right?
Mm-mm.
And pets too were always involved because pets could be seen as like a helper of their workload sometimes.
That's so interesting, actually, that you brought that up. I never had thought about that before, how those were all linked together. But I like
Yeah.
seeing the like linkage there. That's really cool. I've been spending so much time with the sixth house lately because as we're filming this, we just had the eclipse in the sixth or in my sixth. Sorry, not
Mhm.
everybody's sixth. So I've been spending a lot of time like getting to know the sixth house and like becoming more intimate with it because I don't natally have any planets there. So I don't pay much attention to that house, but, spending time with it, I just think it's so interesting now. It can also speak to, like, who are your mentors? Like, how do you
Mm,
learn? Who would be good for you to learn from? And if it's in regards to, your work, you could learn a lot from like who do I want to look up to gain the
Mm,
skills that I need to gain to be who it is I want to be. So this can be a really, really good information point, yeah, for people.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I always think of the six of like my bosses because like
Yeah, too.
I have a Saturn rule six and it's Capricorn, of course. So then I've always been in very traditional work environments like business
Mm,
suits, business, this, all that bullshit. And had
makes
really
sense.
traditional bosses who are really strict and like on the good boys club. And that's always been my work environment. So, it's like the day-to-day work life that you're being put into.
Hmm.
And where do you function well? Like, I don't enjoy it, but I can do it, you know?
Right. Yeah. I can exist there, but do I want to be here? No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but for you in Libra, what is you probably need a lot of beauty or like more social connections in your day to day?
It's funny. I would assume, honestly, my six was in something different. And I think it's because of my 10th that's kind of like
Mm,
taking precedent.
overpowering it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because my six, I don't really notice so much. I never worked in like a traditional role, almost never in my entire life. I've always worked for people who have tried to do their own business, and I've always
Oh.
worked, like, underneath of them, like,
Well, that's
helping
very
them.
Libra because that's like a
Think
partnership.
it could be, yeah, but I was more so, like, up
Yeah, you're
until
their
this point.
servant, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Up until
yeah,
this point, it hasn't been very partnership. It's been, like, more so, like, how can I help you grow you instead of
yeah,
but that's also can be Libra, actually.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
like just saying like because Libra represents like partners generally too. So it's like a one-on-one relationship working environment, maybe versus like a
mm.
whole team.
Yeah, that has always been like yeah, my work has always been very one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like the 7th house though can kind of provide a little bit of information about your work too, but nonetheless, we're talking about the 6th. But
Mm-hmm.
what else? Yeah, I feel like that's for me for the 6th. Yeah, and also you mentioned health. We do have to have some level of like physical health to be able to work. Like we
Right.
can't be ill or else we can't work either. Yeah. So anything else to mention? What about like here, let's say if we went over the elements. So
Mm-hmm.
or we can do that at the end, I think actually. We'll skip over that. We can do. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they're all in the same element, so we can definitely touch on the end. But yeah, you generally your work environment needs to be kind of cohesive to how you make money. That's why they're all kind of in the same element. So all
Mhm.
generally what you do for work kind of flows in that general elemental theme overall.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So the 10th then, right, that's the main, that's like the really, if we looked at these houses, the 10th would be like what you would see first, like the outer coating, the covering. It is literally your career and like your role, your public role. When people come to you and say, what do you do for work? What do you answer with? That's all represented under the 10th, and
Mhm.
that kind of sets the tone for your sixth and then eventually your second, although of course like second can always be related, they can all kind of be very different, which they've been different for me, um
Mhm.
because like what I do daily is not actually what I say to people when they ask me what I do for work.
That is interesting, actually. They can be very different. And you
Yeah,
think, how is that even possible? But
it
I see
is.
what you're
It
saying,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, the 10th is just like your title and like your role and what you see yourself as during your work process. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, the 10th, yeah, can be like your public image. And what's also interesting is that um your midhaven can sit in your 10th, but it
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily have to sit in your 10th. So, it can also be in your ninth, and if I'm not mistaken, can it be in your 11th?
Yes, ninth and 11th. I think one
Yeah.
time it was someone's ace. But
Yeah.
again, that's if you use the traditional whole sign. If you don't use whole sign, your 10th will be where the midhaven is.
Mm-hmm.
starts.
Mm-hmm.
But if you use whole sign, like I do, and I think Kaleigh does sometimes, is
Yeah, I like whole sign now better. Yeah.
okay, yay. Welcome to the dark side.
I know.
If you use whole sign, your midheaven can float, and then that even adds another layer of information. So, like, our midheavens are in the ninth, right? Is yours in
Mm-hmm.
the ninth too?
Mine's in the ninth, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So our work kind of isn't just solely 10th. We actually take elements from the ninth and put it into the 10th as well. Or if it's in the 11th, there's more community orientation. Ninth can be more teaching or like astrology or things of that nature, of like philosophically beliefs or things as well.
Yeah, yeah, really interesting.
Mhm.
Um, is there anything else to note about the 10th?
No, but we can do the planets as the rulers if you like.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say there you have, let's start with Saturn. Let's say you have
Yeah.
Saturn in your 10th. I selfishly started with my own, sorry.
It's okay. Well, you now you get to go first. How would you explain that?
Okay, so Saturn in the 10th, you're going to have some blockages, I would say. Like it's going to be, your success is going to be longer put off. You have
Mhm.
like, Saturn can represent like the fatherly figure or some kind of um like the principal at your school or like somebody that is like, okay, you're not ready yet, like I'll decide when you're ready, when you've gotten your good grades and when you've done everything that you need to do, that's when I'll decide that you're ready. But Saturn almost provides you with this like invisible checklist that you need to check off everything before you can achieve what it is you want to achieve.
It's almost like you're being asked to take extra time with your role to become a master of it.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true? Yeah, that's very Saturnian, right? To be the
Mhm.
expert, to be the master of your role. So it takes a lot longer. It takes all this trial and error. It's not like you instantly step into it, but it is like the checklist. Like, here's everything you have to do first. And it takes longer, but you become a figure of authority in your space.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Yeah, it's like, you know, Saturn placement in the 10th would be a perfect example of like you're going to the school of life. Like
Yes.
you don't get an exact like, you know, that like you need to take this class and this class and this class, but it exists, like it's there and there are things that you have to do. Yeah, to be able to become that master and to be able to come forward. So I would say that that's Saturn. So that would be if you have Aquarius or if you have Capricorn in your 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We can go down from there. So, say you have a Jupiter rule 10th, that would be Pisces or Sagittarius. Um, that would be somebody, who's really expansive in their presence with their work. You can be somebody with a title. You could be, I am the CEO or I am the leader, someone who's very loud or kind of the face of their work
Mhm.
sometimes. That would be very Jupiterian. Also anything that deals with like philosophy or religion or more theoretical parts of work can be a very kind of Jupiter style 10th house sometimes as well.
I want to say, and I actually need to look it up, but I want to say that Taylor Swift has Jupiter in her ruling her 10th.
Oh, I don't know her rising sign, but that would probably make sense.
She's a rising Scorpio, which totally also makes sense
It would be
because,
Leo in her 10th then.
okay, then it's not
There you
him.
go. Well, that makes
Yeah.
sense though. Remember everything I said about
Mm.
Leo in the second. Take
Mm-hmm.
that, the sun and the 10th. That is, and she's a Jupiter, but she's a Jupiter ruled sun, right?
Right.
So merge those two energies. The sun in the 10th again is performing, being
Oh,
performing.
yeah.
Yeah, being seen, being your presence, being your title. Like literally, that's such a good example. The sun is of the 10th, like her job is like, I am Taylor Swift.
Literally. Yeah, that is her. I know. And I feel like Scorpio rising is so totally fitting for her because
Yes.
when the whole like Kanye thing happened,
Oh
she
my
was like
God.
getting dragged through the mud forever. And like people like she just had this kind of like
The
I
whole
don't know.
reputation era and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
But now she's like coming back like a phoenix from the ashes, like rising
Yeah.
on top. And it's so Scorpio. It's like you're really getting me with that, Taylor.
Yeah. So
Mm-mm.
that's a good example. That's of like the sun and Jupiter, those two can
Yeah.
overlap, but Jupiter too can involve things with money. A lot of the times people with Jupiter have you work heavily with money. All of that 10th house placements there. So um,
Interesting. Yeah. I
mhm.
didn't know that Jupiter can work a lot with money.
I see it's the difference between this is one of the difference between modern and traditional is that in traditional Venus is not related to money. Venus is related to things and beauty and aesthetic and pleasure, but Venus is not money. Jupiter is money. Jupiter is wealth because Jupiter was like associated with the kingship, and that's who had the wealth and the money.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yes.
cool. Okay, so we have Jupiter there. Next one, what did we do next? Venus?
Yeah, we can do Venus or Mars.
Oh, we can do Mars.
Yeah, so Mars in the 10th, be Aries or Scorpio, probably somebody who is more athletic and go-getter.
Definitely athletic or
We
something.
too
Yeah,
forgot to do Mars for the
I
second
know.
house
I
too. I
realized.
just realized,
Yeah.
I know we both realized that we were like,
Yeah.
oh shit. But we could
Mm-mm.
tap on that here. But yeah. So second house, you would probably make your money with a lot more physical activity or a lot more authoritative. Maybe you're like a manager. That could be like a 10th house Mars too, as somebody who manages or authoritates or dictates things for people,
hmm
as well as kind of being the like sought after ruler or like leader. Military
I was gonna
positions.
say, yeah,
Yeah.
anything with military. Yeah.
Police,
Mm-hmm.
firefighters too. Anything that's like edgy, kind of like an edgy job that's like risky.
Mm-hmm.
Be a lot of way you can make your money through that too. Maybe you're like a risk taker for people or do things for people they don't want to do. And that could be a way if you have Mars in the second way you make money as well.
It could also be important to your soul evolution in some way to be able to be authoritative or like to speak your mind or to Mars doesn't really hold back. It's kind of like anybody I feel like arguing could almost be important in your
Debating.
position. Debating, yeah. Like lawyers, I feel like could also exist
Yeah.
here. Like, yeah. So, and even honestly, like surgeons, because it's like, ruling,
Cutting the
cutting,
skin.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any kind of like aesthetic, like medical
Tattoo
aesthetic,
artists
tattoo,
could be
yeah.
a good a Mars placement.
Mhm.
Piercers, all of that for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So all you little feisty people, you can try something risky for those placements.
Right. Yeah.
So
And then,
then go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, Venus, go ahead.
Yeah, so Venus in the 10th, that's me.
Oh,
Um,
good one.
um, I don't know. I have hard manifesting in my life, but really, Venus in the 10th would probably be someone who is very more community oriented and like very more about bringing together maybe groups of people, especially if it's Libra. If it's Taurus, it's more about bringing together resources or having a stable, slow job, one that's not the opposite of Mars here, one that isn't a lot of work, isn't a
Mm-hmm.
lot of your time, isn't a lot of a stressor, something that's just easy and just comes natural. And as well as like anything beauty related can be a really big. I mean, I worked in retail a lot and like I loved folding clothes all day. Like that was fine.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I feel like too with Venus here, you can have like a really pretty title, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, like you can be like, oh, like I want to be what they are, like it's just like really like beautiful title. Or I can almost feel like too, like the way you look can have something to do with your career here also.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
Yeah.
you're more willing to use like your face or your body as your image for your work
hmm
or more so than somebody who's maybe less visible in that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, a Mercury ruled 10th, somebody who does a lot of writing, again, reading, publishing, speaking engagements, or maybe somebody who has multiple titles, jack of all trades.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Um, Playful, even working with children, sometimes Mercury can be kind of trickster, playful, like escape rooms. I always think are like kind of mercurial.
Yeah, true. Or making money like in a secret way. I
Mm,
could see. Yeah, or like
thieves.
yeah, yeah, you kind of got to be careful here. It can be like under the radar or something like
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. It's also important to notice, we didn't mention this before, but this is can also be kind of relevant if you have like these certain energetics within a certain house. So for example,
Mm,
we were talking about the second house. Let's say that your Mars ruled, but you have um Mercury there. It's like a blend of all those energies together. So it's like maybe you're supposed to make money through something with your physical body, but there's also some kind of element about speaking or about you communicating or something like that to have to do with it too. So not only can you look at who rules the house, but you can also look at the planetary energetics that exist within that house.
yeah, really good point. If there are any planets in these houses, definitely look to them as part of like giving you more information about how this manifests, as well as where the ruler is placed too, can give you some information.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we did what about the moon in the 10th?
The moon would be the last one. So the moon is maybe like the stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, it could
uh,
be. Yeah,
or
absolutely.
anyone who works with homes or like decorating homes or creating home spaces or again any kind of nurturing role or things of that nature that brings like caretaking is a big moon in the 10th.
Yeah, midwife or like a can be I feel like bakers could be here, like the baker. I don't know why like chefs give me Venus, but bakers give moon.
Feeding is very much a body function. The moon rules the body. So,
Okay, interesting.
yeah. Venus likes indulgent food, but the moon would be like the nourishment food.
Mm-hmm. Oh, true. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So then we have the moon and then that's the last one, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the last one.
Yeah, that was that. So, the last kind of tie together is that all of these, especially if you use whole sign, will be in the same element.
Mm-hmm.
So, what element they are is the general kind of undercurrent of your work. So, if it's an earth sign, earth element, you may want to have more practical work, more physical matter, working more physically or out in the world, or doing things that are more material related or any kind of actual manifestation or creating something. See, you can do water. Water would be a lot about your work has to involve your feelings. Like you need to be emotionally invested into
Connected.
your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, connected. Maybe it's more intuitive. Your work isn't as logical. It involves more intuitive feelings and relating to people. You want to do air?
Yeah, so air would be some kind of communication, like connecting with people, connecting with the community, learning could be a big part of that. Um, Also multiple streams of income could be really indicative of
Mhm.
air. There's some kind of flow element that exists here. So, if we're comparing it to Earth, Earth might be a little bit more stable and air element might be a little bit more unstable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like a soul challenge here for any air placement would be to kind of get like more comfortable with the peaks and valleys of that come along
Mhm.
with finances and your career and just realizing that some moments are going to be really good and then other moments might suck, but that's just how it is if you're an air element. So that's why I would say for air and then fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fire. What would you say?
For fire, let me think about it. I think, you might have more drive or more motivation to focus on your career and to focus on money. Um, yeah, it may be easy come, easy go kind of thing, I would say.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think fire is like you have to be feeling it. You need to be passionate about it. Like
That's a good point.
you
Yeah.
need to be inspired. It's very creative. So a lot of art can be brought from the fire signs too. Is not just like the water, but fire is like more of an aggression. Like, yeah, you just need to be energetically pumped to go to work. Like, you're not going to be able to just kind of sit and listen. You need to be kind of moving and part of it, part of the flow for that.
I totally agree with that actually. Yeah, now that I'm thinking, I feel like no fire sign's gonna like hang out. Like fire element is gonna just like hang out and sit there. Like your spirit could easily just evaporate if you're like asked to do something that isn't fulfilling you.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like excited to do it. Like, yeah, if you are excited to sit and code or whatever, because that inspires you, coding is cool for you. That's what matters. It's all definitely deeply personal, but you have to want to do it for it to be good for you. If you have a lot of fire and you're not wanting your job, maybe look at other places.
Yeah, I feel like fire in particular would be like one where it's extremely important for you to enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yes.
earth, you don't necessarily have to enjoy it. No. I feel like you mentioned water, there has to be that emotional connection.
Hmm.
So you are kind of enjoying it, but on the
Yeah.
emotional level, yeah.
You can be more detached if you're like earth or air from it sometimes. Like you can
Yeah.
choose to detach from it a little bit more versus your life force is really involved in the fire and water.
Mhm. Totally
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, that's our trigon. So definitely listen to the first one too. We did a while back about the cell, and then take that and add into your work life and see kind of what comes up for you.
Yeah, share with us, share what element your trigon is in and how you kind of experience making money. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Two Girls Talk Transits. You can find Maddie on maddiedelrae.com and at Maddie Delrae on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can find me at heal.onearth on Instagram.
Great. Well, thank you guys for tuning in.
Okay, thanks. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.